Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be doing a little bit of loading for the 3040 Krag. This is for my 1896 Krag Jorgensen cut down, made by the Springfield Armory. The guy that owned this rifle before me sent along some of his reloads, but I am out of those now, so we need to get some ammo loaded up so that we can keep this old gun shooting. If you'll remember in that video, I said the rifle was kind of designed to shoot 220 grain round nose bullets. Well, at the time I was ordering components for it, 220s were not available. I found 150s and I found some 170 flat nose. I ended up getting some of both, but the only real solid data that I can find is for the 150s. Now, I'm sure that I could extrapolate something and get the 170s to shoot just fine, since we're kind of shooting for a medium to light load anyway. But because this is an old pattern action and I really don't want to mess up this old gun, we're going to stick exactly to published data today. With the one exception being I'm not shooting the same primer, but that shouldn't make a huge difference. The components are new Hornady brass. I've got a bag of 50 of these. IMR 3031 for the powder, and like I said, the 150 grain round nose Hornady interlock bullet. If I do end up coming up with a load that feeds with this, I might deer hunt with this rifle next season, but we'll see. I do have a set of brand new RCBS dies, and we're going to be using those today to get our brass ready and do the loading. The goal for this load, like I said a little bit ago, is just to get a load that will get us shooting with the Krag. Hopefully print some halfway decent groups, maybe deer hunt with, but I'm not going for anything super spicy. Shooting for maybe just higher than normal 30-30 velocities with this same barrel length. So we're not going for anything crazy. Let's see, I do have a shell holder here, Hornady shell holder number 11, I think. This is the right one. I put the shell holder in the die box when I first got everything, and I'm not sure if I ever checked it. So let's make sure here. H11 is inscribed on the shell holder right there. Yeah, that looks like it fits perfect. So I'll snap that into the press over here. These necks are not bad, but they are just a little bit out of round as they came from the factory. So we're going to start with a full length resize. So I'll pull the sizing die out and we'll start working with that first. This decapping pin is pretty dang low, so I'm going to back that out just a little ways. Interesting setup here. It's been a while since I worked with a set of RCBS dies. I've got a lock nut on here, so I'll screw that plug in and then set the depth here. We'll have it sticking out about 3/8 of an inch. That seems to be pretty standard. And then I'll twirl that locking nut down. I don't think I have to get it too tight. This is threaded and it's not quite like the Hornady zip spindle that can slip inside there. As long as it's snug in there, I'm not worried about it pulling it out or pushing it back up in when we come over that expander button. Still using the Hornady single stage press here with the lock and load system. I want to eventually get a press that doesn't use that so that I don't have to worry about keeping track of bushings and swapping them between dies. I really think if you're just loading a couple of calibers and you want to keep bushings on everything and you want to keep the dies set the same way every time, this might be a great system. For me, who loads all kinds of different calibers with different types of dies, I'm not going to have a set of lock and load bushings for each one. It's just not practical. It's kind of expensive. These lock and load conversion kit packs I have found are usually a little bit cheaper than just buying the 3 bushings. So this comes with 3 of the lock and load bushings and the 1.5" press conversion bushing. And this was, I think, a little over $16, where just buying the 3 of these was like $19. So take that for what it's worth. I think I've got 2 or 3 of these press bushings now that I really don't need and never plan to use, but saves a couple bucks. So I'll throw that one in. Also, one thing on here, there's no wrench flats, so you have to turn this in by hand, and if you stick your thumb into the top there and use that to grip and help you twist in, the threads inside these bushings will slice the crap out of your thumb, which is not ideal. Okay, I'm having a hard time twisting that in, but we're not going to worry about it for now. Let's go ahead and raise that ram. Screw the die in until it touches. Suppose I could epoxy one of those in place to turn this into a more of a fixed system. Let's see how that feels. Okay, just a tiny bit of cam over. I'm gonna lock it in place right there. All right, I'm gonna start out just doing 5 pieces. Then we'll go out to the range. Since I've got the 50-yard range set up here at my house, we'll load up 5 rounds, go out to the range and shoot them, and then go from there, coming back to the bench each time, rather than loading up a bunch of ammo and then going to shoot it. So I'm gonna run these through. We're just gonna do Imperial sizing die, wax for this one, since we're doing so few. I doubt I'll need much at all since this is new brass. Run that up into the die. Oh yeah, no problem at all. That'll just help us straighten things out. Yeah, probably didn't even need lube. Those last few I didn't even use lube, and they went perfectly fine. Of course, there was probably just a little bit of residual in the die from that first one. I'll just give these a quick wipe off. With a paper towel. And inside that neck, since I specifically put lube on it. Oh yeah, still got just a little bit of lube inside the mouth going into that 3rd case, so I'm glad I'm wiping them off. My plan for today is to get a load dialed in and then just load the rest of the 50 pieces of brass I have here with that load, and then we'll throw it all in the cartridge box, and then when I want to shoot this gun, I'll just pull that out and we'll go until I've run through all 50 pieces. Okay, we've got the brass pretty much prepped. Let me just chamfer and deburr the necks real quick. They don't look too bad, but I'll put just a little bit of inside and outside chamfer on there just to help the bullets seat nicely. Yeah, just a little light touch there and we should be good to go. I believe we're ready for primers. I'm going with CCI 200s. I've been really stingy with these lately because I only had 100 plus these. We got, looks like 29 primers in this sleeve. Been really stingy with these because I haven't been able to find large rifle primers for quite a while. But I was out of town the other day and stopped in a gun shop I haven't stopped in a long while, and they had 1 brick of CCI number 200s. I think after tax it was about $106. The amount of large rifle stuff I do, I thought that was worth it, so I was able to get that brick, which I was glad for. We're going to use the RCBS Universal priming tool, and I think in the last video that I used this, I was having some problems getting this top to sit down on without flipping the primers over. I figured out a trick for that, and I probably should have just Googled it. I'll just throw 10 primers in here real quick and get them flipped over the right way. This primer tray still isn't the greatest for flipping primers. It takes a lot more shaking than the others because the ridges don't stick up as much. Okay, the trick that I've found for this is to get it aligned with the hole in the middle, and if I were to press down slowly pretty much 50% of the primers would flip over and I'd have to start all over. But if I quick snap it down into place, they don't have time to flip. So none of the primers are flipped, and I am happy with that. This priming tool so far for me has been light years better than the Hornady priming tool that I was using for a while. Oh, I was curious to see how that went with these big headed rimmed cases snapping in. No trouble whatsoever. Oh, nice tight primer pockets. I really like the way these jaws perfectly center the case over the priming ram. I think it saves a lot of headache and damaged edges of primers. I have not had one, besides if I missed a crimp or something, I've not had one primer mishap with this thing yet. All right, there's 5 pieces primed. We'll move on to powder. I've gotten way lazy with my powder. In my earlier videos, I pretty much did everything by either the powder thrower and trickler combination, or throwing them with scoops and the trickler. I've just been using this RCBS Chargemaster Lite. It makes things so quick and easy for me, and I've really enjoyed having it. There's plenty of reviews out there on this, so I won't do one and bore you too much. All right, we'll run through a quick calibration on this. Let me see here. Ah, there we go. 0, calibrate 0, calibrate 50, stable, calibrate 100, stable, calibrate, and comes back out to 100. 50.01, close enough. 0, switch back to grains, and I'm ready to go. This pan should be about 130, yeah, perfect, 130.6. Oh, I guess you guys can't see that. We'll zero it out, and I'll dump in my powder. Like I said, we're using IMR 3031 today. I've got 3-ish pounds of this. And I have not used this powder before. We'll just dump 1/3 of a pound or so in there. Charge weights. I am going directly off Hornady data for the charge weights today, and let me throw that up on the screen for you here. The bullet again is the 150 grain round nose interlock, and we've got data for all the 150 class bullets for Hornady. We're showing here we can get up to 2,400-ish feet per second. I'm guessing that's out of the 30-inch barrel. Actually, let's take a look here. Yeah, 30-inch 1896 is what they're going off here. So we're going to be significantly slower than that. But again, I really don't care about the velocity that much. We're just going to kind of go for a middle-of-the-road load. Showing a minimum of 30.4 grains and a maximum of 36.4. Let's throw 35 grains to start out with and see where that gets us. That's 1.6 grains below max. I'm good with that. We'll just throw an even 35 grains here and give that a try. Case fill with that 35 grains is coming to about right there, just below the shoulder, maybe by a 1/4 inch or so. Not a super full case, but that's okay. My plan here is to shoot these 5. If everything looks great, I might try 3 or 4/10 of a grain higher, see what the difference in velocity is, and just mess around with it a little bit. The Chargemaster Lite, does it really take any less time than throwing a charge and trickling it up? Maybe not. Probably a similar time. Using the Chargemaster, though, does seem to reduce my fatigue during a long reloading session. say I'm loading 100 rounds of 6.5 Creedmoor competition ammo, loading it with this, I'm much less fatigued through the process than if I was throwing them all by hand. One more here. And we'll get the bullet seating die set up. All right, we've got 35 grains. I'm going to hit cancel so it goes back into manual mode. And we'll put the dust cover on so I don't bump anything there, and we'll just leave it sit. All right, let's pop this die out. I'm gonna try out the 3040 Krag seating die. I've got other seating dies, one for 308, that's an RCBS one. I've got a 30-06 seating die that's Hornady, and I could probably use either of those just fine to seat the interlock bullet on 3040, and it wouldn't make a difference. We're not using crimp or anything. I've got a notion. I wonder if I can pull out this seating plug. No, I can't. It doesn't. I wonder if I can screw it out the bottom. I'm just wanting to look at the actual seating stem to see how well it fits the bullet, just out of curiosity. I wonder if I can screw it out the other direction. Yeah, there it fell out. Okay, it looks like if you were going to put a different seating stem on here, you would have to completely replace this whole piece. Here's our 150 grain round nose bullet, and for 3040 Krag, we really should have. Oh, it's not too bad of a fit. It's definitely looks like it would work better with a longer bullet. Let me pull out a. Here's a 30 cal 168 grain ELDM. Still not a great fit, but it fits that bullet a whole lot better. I think it'll work fine here. We're just gonna have to make sure. Ugh, man, that's not pretty. We're just gonna have to make sure the bullet is sitting pretty darn square on there before we start seating. Otherwise, this might have a tendency to get things a little cockeyed. We'll give it a try. We're not going for anything super precise anyway. I'm wondering how much of a pain this is gonna be to get screwed back in here. I've got a punch here I'm going to use for a counterweight or to push against it. See if I can get that started in the threads. Oh yeah. Okay. That's all it needed, was just a little bit of start. All right, RCBS seating dies. Maybe a little bit more hassle than they're worth. We'll see. This die should have a crimp in it, so we're gonna make sure not to use that. I'll throw in a piece of brass here, raise it up, and we'll drop the die down over. And I'll screw it down and see if it touches the mouth of that case. Ah, but my bushing is not secure because it's very hard to get secure without the die turned all the way down. Okay, we'll try that. Okay, we are touching the case mouth right there. I'm going to back it out a full turn. Okay, I'm not going to tighten that down a ton. I'm just going to go to where it touches and tighten it down here. We'll see if that lets me break it free. Next step, I'm going to double check powder in the case. We'll sit that 150 grainer on top. A 220 would be nicer. I'm not sure about the length from the cantilever to the tip on the 220. If it's any longer than this, we're just going to have to see how this feeds. We may end up having to seat the bullet out a little longer to get the feeding right. Or I may have to find some 220s. Who knows? Okay, we're touching pretty much right away. Let me go down 3 big twists, and I'll start the seating here. And I'm going to go down until we get pretty close to that cantilever. Actually, before I do that, let's make sure that the manual hasn't told us anything different on overall length. 2.905 is what they're wanting on overall length. .961, that looks like about 60 thousandths that we've got to go to the middle of that cantilever. No, it's 143. Okay. Well, let's just sneak up on it here. 2.905. We're at 2.96, so we got to go down 55 thousandths. We are definitely going to be sticking with that cantilever out of the case. This is a little bit interesting. All right, let me put this lock nut down on here. I do have some of the 3D printed bits for this. I've currently got them in my 308 die case, and I'm probably going to leave them there. If I end up liking them, I may get them for all of my RCBS dies. Let's go down a little bit more here. See where that gets us. Oh, that wasn't much at all. .923, we've got about 20 thousandths to go. 1.3. All right, yeah, we're definitely going to end up with that cantilever sticking out of the case. I've got 2.909. I'm going to park that right there for a minute. We might adjust it, but I want to look something up. I'm wondering what their overall length spec for the 220 grain is. 2.905 for the 150. For the 220 grain bullet, 3.080. Okay, so yeah, we're not getting there with the 150, that's for sure. I don't know, maybe this will work. We'll give it a try. Like I said, I'll park that there for a second, and I'll seat another bullet. Kind of looks pretty cool. I've never really loaded anything with round nose bullets before. I'm definitely interested to see how it feeds. Starting the seating is not too difficult there. .909. I'm going to go down just a tiny bit more. We'll try to see exactly the specs as much as we can. .902 on that one. .903 on the first one. I went just a hair too far. Hard to adjust super easy with that. I suppose if I throw on those 3D printed knobs, it might be a little easier. We're only a couple thousandths off, and I'm not going to worry about it. I backed it out just a tiny bit, and we're at 2.905. That one's dead on. All right, I'll load these last two, and then I'll go get the range set up to shoot these. And of course, we'll chronograph them and see what happens there. All right, length is good. We're all set, let's go shoot. Okay, out on the 50-yard range with the Krag. First, we'll see how it feeds. I'll dump all 5 in. Maybe it only holds 4? Am I remembering wrong? Pretty sure it holds 5. Maybe I don't have them far enough back. Okay, it will hold 5. Let's see if it'll feed. The extractor didn't get over it. I'll try again. Maybe it's better with 4. I'm going to go just a little bit more briskly as I chamber, but not force it, and see if that extractor gets over like it's supposed to. No. All right, well, we've got one in the chamber. believe I've got my sight setting as it was set last time. Target camera's down there. Let's hope I don't hit it. I'm optimistic about the chronograph picking up velocity numbers today. It's overcast, pretty even lighting. I'm gonna take one shot and then make sure we are on the paper, and then we'll finish the group. Should be fairly well towards the center. All right, did pick up a velocity of 2310. Brass looks perfectly fine. I'm gonna go check that target. Elevation's perfect. We'll just fire the rest of the group right in there, and then if necessary I'll make a windage adjustment. Recoil is so nice and light, it's like shooting a 300 blackout. Probably pretty similar to shooting a 16-inch 300 blackout. Velocities are all over the place. That last shot was down in the 2150s. I don't feel like I'm getting the world's greatest sight picture today. All right, I'll take a look at it. Brass looks perfect. All right, that's not a bad group for open sights. We got about 1, 2, maybe 2.5 inches. I'm gonna make a sight adjustment. Velocities were mostly in the mid 2100s, which is about what I would expect. The first shot at 2318 threw everything way off, and I'm guessing that was just a bad number, but we'll see. Gotta remember which way to go on this lock. We got it loose, and I really should have taken note of where we were. I think I probably did manage to lose my setting altogether. I'm gonna put it back to the dead middle, and I'll load up 5 more shots. I think we will go with 35.5 this time, and we'll use those 5 shots to try to bring the point of impact closer to the center, adjusting the sights. So I'll go load up those real quick and be back in a minute. All right, so somebody was surely going to holler at me for going up more than 1% in the powder charge. So we're at 35.3 grains, not 35.5. Seems to be feeding halfway decently. At least better than it was with the pointed nose bullets. I'm gonna take 2 shots and then go check my point of impact. I'm really kicking myself for not looking at the position of that sight before I unlocked it. That was kind of stupid. Tell you what I'm gonna do to try to make my vertical hold more accurate. I'm gonna hold center and align my sight with the right and left thick bars instead of trying to hold at the bottom of the triangle like I was before. Or at the bottom of the diamond, rather. The group will be just slightly higher, but that's okay. Primer still looks good. Same as the last one. 2207 for the velocity on that one. 2203, that's a good sign. I'm guessing that first reading I got was just way off. All right. Now I'll know which direction to move anyway. Recoil is still super mild. I would hand this gun to literally anybody to shoot at this point. Okay, that last shot was very close to center. So I'm just gonna shoot the next 3 and see where they end up. Or I guess that'd be the next 2, wouldn't it? I'd fired 1 more than I thought I had. That last one was 2207 again. Okay, the group size is not great, but that could be my shooting as well. As far as windage adjustment goes, we're good. I'm liking a lot of things about this load. We're at about 2,200 feet per second, which is nice and mild, putting us right at a middle of the road 30-30 load, which I think is perfect for this, and is going to be plenty effective if I decide to use this load on deer. My hold, as far as elevation goes, probably not the best. With my astigmatism, everything is just a little bit blurry when looking through iron sights. With that being said, I was able to hold windage pretty well. I've got my adjustment dialed in as far as windage goes. I'm happy with where it's at. I think this is where we're going to leave this load. 35.3 grains of IMR 3031 and that 150 round nose. I think that's good. I might try to work up a load for that 170 grain flat point at some time just for the heck of it. But for now, this 150 grain load is going to do everything that I need it to do. It'll be fun and relatively cheap to plink around with, and it should work out pretty decently for hunting as well, because I do want to try to get at least one deer with this, whether it's this year or next. I'm going to head back down to the bench, load up the other 40 pieces of brass with this load, and set them aside for the next time the Krag comes out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to subscribe to the channel. If you would, please consider checking out my Patreon page and subscribing there. I'm not currently pushing a lot of content over there, but I would really appreciate the support for the stuff that I do here on YouTube. Again, thanks for watching, and y'all have a good one.